Residents and rebels who basically heard the noise of the helicopter, and as they got off the helicopter there was an exchange of gunfire between the two sides that lasted about 10 to 15 minutes. Now we're told that the rebels really wanted to catch these people because they didn't know who was landing in the middle of the night like that, and on the other side apparently they were trying not to hurt the rebels, not to get entangled into an even more difficult position. So apparently that gunfire lasted about 15 minutes until the rebels got hold of these 8 people.
We asked both the British Foreign Secretary and Ministry of Defence about the reports. Both said they wouldn't comment on operational matters. The mission was authorised by the UK Foreign Minister William Hague, and it could be an embarrassment for the government. Unofficial reports.
Arriving back in Malta, the failed British Special Forces mission to Libya. In the UK Parliament, the Foreign Minister said it was all a misunderstanding.
Last week I authorised the dispatch of a small British diplomatic team to eastern Libya in uncertain circumstances which we judge required their protection, to build on these initial contacts and to assess the scope for closer diplomatic dialogue. I pay tribute to that team. They were withdrawn yesterday after a serious misunderstanding about their role, leading to their temporary detention.
A helicopter carrying 6 Special Forces soldiers, an officer from the MI6 intelligence service, a spy by another name, and 1 diplomat landed in Salouche, several kilometres from Benghazi. With guns, explosives and fake passports in their bags, they were quickly detained by locals.
8 people were arrested, and it turned out that they carried British passports. The reason that they were arrested is that they entered the country illegally and without permission, authorisation or prior arrangement with the Libyan authorities. Libya is an independent nation. Therefore, our sovereignty and our borders should be respected by everybody.
The UK's ambassador to Libya, currently in London, then had to call rebel leaders to explain what was going on, a conversation which surfaced on Libyan state TV.
We try to interfere, saying those people are coming to helping us.
Yes, their idea is that they're a group who are just coming to find out where our mission will stay and how they will operate to do the logistics, and then we will send the officials in consultation with you next week.
I think the intentions are perfectly fair. What they're trying to achieve is fine, but of course it is an embarrassment in the way it portrayed itself, first of all, to the rebels in the east, and secondly, actually, to the government in the west. We sort of lose face on both sides.
This is a huge embarrassment for the British government. Special forces are highly regarded, but this is one incident that won't get a great write-up in their history. It's also a propaganda victory for Colonel Gaddafi and the Libyan government. He's been saying for a while that there are foreign influences among the protesters, that old colonial powers are desperate to get involved. Now he has something concrete to back that up. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera, outside the Libyan embassy in London.
The exodus from Libya goes on. In one night, boats carrying more than 1,000 illegal immigrants arrived at the southern Italian island of Lampedusa. The calm weather helped to facilitate the journey as they escaped the unrest in North Africa. Here's Tanya Page.
Boats crowded with people hoping to make a better life in Europe. This annual wave of illegal migrants from North Africa is predictable and unstoppable, and this season is promising to be busy. In just one night, boats carrying more than 1,000 people landed in the Italian island of Lampedusa. Most are Tunisian and Egyptian. Authorities fear many Libyans will follow.
So far we have contained the impact well, despite the very high number of migrants. We've had more than 1,000 people arriving overnight, and we've welcomed them at the holding centre. Fortunately, we had only 314 migrants to start with, so the numbers have stayed beneath the critical level.
Thousands of illegal migrants have arrived in Lampedusa this year. In February, over 4,000 Tunisians landed during one weekend of fine weather. The island's holding centre has a capacity of about 800, so they're quickly ferried or flown to larger detention centres in Italy. But some locals worry about the effect on tourism.
I hope they don't go around breaking things and misbehaving, and let's hope that tourists will still come this summer. Otherwise, this year will be very difficult for us.
In my opinion, people are afraid of Gaddafi, of what's happening in Libya and the war taking place in the Mediterranean. It's not a question of the migrants. Migrants have been coming here for 20 years, and we've never had problems with tourism.
Tunisia and Libya have agreements with Italy to prevent illegal immigration, but both have far greater concerns right now. Italy has asked its European neighbours for help, but many have refused, saying it's too early to predict migrant numbers. Tania Page, Al Jazeera.
Well, still to come on this Al Jazeera News Hour, why the British Prime Minister is wading into the row about Prince Andrew's role as the UK trade envoy.
Algeria's president is coming under more pressure, this time from some 10,000 police officers. They've marched to a parliament demanding better pay and directing their anger at President Abdelaziz Bouteflika. A tenth of the entire auxiliary police force took part. The force works in rural areas. Egypt's caretaker prime minister says restoring security in the shortest possible time is a priority for his government. Issam Sharaf spoke to journalists hours after a new-look cabinet was sworn in. Meanwhile, Egypt's prosecutor has ordered the detention of 47 police officers for burning documents at several state security headquarters. Political analyst Samir Shahata says despite appearances, Egypt's political slate hasn't really been wiped clean just yet.
I think that for many cabinet posts, he's in charge. But I think, and my skepticism is that there are some ministers, for example, the Minister of Military Industries, who's a leftover of the old regime, who's a former general, who's not liked. And he has retained his post, curiously enough. And I think that that's probably a result of the Supreme Military Council saying, you're not going to touch that ministry. He's one of ours, and, that's kind of a red line. So by and large, I think he's got a great deal of discretion. But we can't forget that the Supreme Military Council is still in charge. They are still acting as the executive branch, the president of this country. That's the case when it comes to security matters. It's the case when it comes to state security. As you've seen over the last couple of days, there have been these, taking over the state security ministries and so on. So they're still in charge to a large extent.
Tunisia's interim Prime Minister Beji Said Sebsi has unveiled his new cabinet after a spate of resignations. It'll be the third caretaker government since the overthrow of Zain al Abidine Ben Ali in January. Nazneen Mousheri has more from Tunis.
It was billed as a new beginning, but the interim Prime Minister Beji Said Sebsi admitted the key positions in government will remain the same. The difference now, a promise that not one member of the cabinet will stand in the next election, and security will be a priority.
We wanted it to be a caretaker government, but more importantly, a government which saves the country from this predicament.
One of the first moves of this new